You're going to be shocked to find out that the money that's currently being raised to pay for those gigantic Democratic and Republican conventions that'll happen in just a couple of months is being raised from corporations and the extremely wealthy. Two sources that up until recently we believed had a negative influence on politicians when we gave them money. Up until Hillary started getting paid for Wall Street speeches, and now we don't care so much about it anymore, at least on the left. Now, up until about 1972, this is how things always had been done, that they raised all of this money, they threw the lavish conventions, and that was that. In 1972, there was a $400,000 donation to the Republican convention fundraising effort. That was traced to a favorable antitrust legislative outcome for that company, ITT Corporation, and that led to reforms, which came in the form of public financing for those conventions. And so you might think, oh good, we've gotten some of the money out of politics. Well, they quickly found a bunch of loopholes in that, and then they decided even with those loopholes, they're just going to kill it in 2014. So they did that with the 2014 Gabriella Miller Kids First Research Act that ended government funding for nominating conventions, which back in 2012 amounted to about $18 million, or 1/4 of each political party's convention costs, and is now redirecting $126 million over 10 years to pediatric disease research. I love the idea of increased funding for pediatric disease research. I'm not entirely sure why it needs to come as the result of allowing corporations to give millions of dollars to the political parties, but that's what they've come up with. For historical perspective, the total cost of the 2012 Republican convention in Tampa Bay, Florida, cost about $74 million. That's not including all the extra parties and all that they threw. The Democratic one cost about $66 million. Democrats tried to limit corporate sponsorship that year, but that didn't lead to less spending. The convention went into debt, which Duke Energy, one of the nation's largest electric power providers, paid off by forgiving a $10 million loan, which is an amazing bit of charity from one of the largest electric power providers in the company, and had no impact on anyone after that.
Okay, so let's break this down. So number one, they're set to spend about $150 million on the convention.
This can be a nice party.
So if corporations give you $150 million, they're not allowed to give that to you unless they expect a better return for that money. Mm-hmm. It is their fiduciary and legal responsibility to make every dollar they can. They can't give it out of the goodness of their heart, okay? They can't give it to you because they like you, right? They put in the $150 million because they believe that they will get government goodies that far exceeds $150 million. Yeah. So when you let private interests buy our politicians, and a convention is one way of doing that, that's a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
So, well, when you let them buy our politicians, well, then the politicians are going to return the favor. And they're going to have to show them that return on investment. Otherwise, they're not going to get their next convention sponsored by AT&T and all these other companies. So this is sick how it's being conducted. And John sarcastically was talking about in the beginning, now the Democrats are like, no, the Wall Street money never corrupted Hillary Clinton. All the millions upon millions of dollars, in fact, hundreds of millions that they have raised throughout their career, Hillary and Bill Clinton, never corrupted them. Money corrupting politicians, I don't know what you're talking about, right? Well, now, of course, they are taking that to another level. Yeah, we're going to take hundreds of millions for the convention. And I mean, if you're a partisan, and so you think, I'm with her, I don't give a damn what she says, I'm with her, right? Okay, then you'll find that persuasive. But no other rational human being thinks that people give you hundreds of millions of dollars and then you don't do anything for them. Yeah, and by the way, you don't do anything for them and then they give it to you again.
And then they give it to you again.
Right.
And they give it to you and they give it to your mortal enemy. Because many of the corporations which are donating this year are donating to both conventions, and in the past, that is what they've done. They give money to both of them so that they get the favors regardless of who actually gets into office. And it's not like they're saying, we need funding, we need donations for these conventions. We'd love it if it came in the form of $27 donations from individuals. They're setting it up with people that I'm gonna tell you some of these people on the host committee on the Democratic side. That's they're doing all of the setup and organization for this, and look at who they've chosen, and you decide if they're going to be looking for those $27 donations. So the host committee's finance chair is Daniel Hilferty. Hilferty is CEO of Independence Blue Cross, a health insurance giant that covers 9 million people. He also serves on the board of directors of America's Health Insurance Plan, the insurance industry lobbying group that spearheaded the campaign against the Affordable Care Act. Lobby registration documents show the BCBS Association is actively supporting a number of Republican bills to roll back provisions of the ACA. It's a weird coincidence that Hillary doesn't think that we should radically expand access to health care and go far beyond the ACA. Weird that Allison Schwartz, a former Democratic lawmaker, is a co-chair of the host committee. She was recently named head of a new advocacy group for the health insurance industry called Better Medicare Alliance. The group was set up by APCO, a lobbying firm for health insurance companies, to push to expand Medicare Advantage programs, the privately managed programs that were curtailed with the enactment of the ACA. Curtailed up until the near future, perhaps, unless we change the law and suddenly they become something that we can expand again. And then finally, we have David Cohen, the special advisor to the host committee, serves as the executive vice president of Comcast, overseeing the company's lobbying and regulatory strategy. Despite hosting fundraisers for Clinton at his home last summer, he's also spent heavily to help elect a Republican Congress, including recent donations to the NRCC, Senator Toomey, a Republican, Senator Scott, a Republican, Senator Kelly Ayotte, a Republican, as well as over $33,000 to the NRSC, a committee for helping elect GOP members to the Senate. Special advisor. Very special from where I'm sitting.
So they wonder why young people get turned off and don't come out to vote. And then they yell at them, like Barney Frank will come out and go, "It's your fault. You should have voted more for me because I'm a better corporatist than the other side." No, you're both literally taking money from the same exact corporations, and you serve those corporations. So those corporations luckily don't care about being racist. In fact, they don't want you to be racist because they want to be able to sell to every kind of race and ethnicity. So that's the good news, right? The bad news is you basically work for them and their economic interests. So they will shift their tax burden onto you, which they have. I've shown that over and over again since the 1950s to now. Corporations pay far less taxes, and we, the average Americans, middle class, especially through the payroll tax, pay a lot more taxes. So they screwed you for trillions of dollars on that change alone, right? Plus deregulation, plus every merger approved, plus monopolies on the media, all the things they ever wanted. Well, the Republicans and the Democrats will give them exactly what they want on that. So, gee, I wonder why the American people are A, discouraged, right? And B, are looking for some sort of popular revolt, whether it's Trump, Sanders, just anyone who isn't a slimy politician like all of these guys.
Yeah.
Right? So, and you want to talk about a slimy politician? They ended the public financing of conventions, the only thing that kept them honest, by putting
to some extent.
Right, by putting it in the form of pediatric cancer research. So that they're like, oh, we are doing this for the kids.
Yeah.
No. You're redirecting the money so that corporations can own you even more, and you're hiding behind those kids.
Yeah.
It is grotesque.